Jaya Radha Madhava Jai Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hare Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Hare Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Srimad Bhagavatam Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtottara Shatashi Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sekaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All right. Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th Canto, The Creative Impetus. Chapter 12, excuse me. Looks like the bookmark was chapter 18, yeah. Text 2, no, text 3. Canto 5, The Creative Impetus, Chapter 18, The Residence of Jambudvipa for Prayers, Text 3. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Oho Vichitram Bhagavad Vicheshtatam what is it? How is jñānam Jano Yam Hi Mishan Na Pashyati Dhyanyan Asad Yarhi vikarma sivetum nirhitya putram pitaram jivishati aho vichitram bhagavad vicheshtitam Jnanantam jano yamihi misham na pashyati Jayana sadha yarhi vikarma sevitum Nirhitya putram pitaram jajivishati Aho vichitram bhagavad vicheshtitam Jnanantam jano yamhi mishanna pashyati Jayana sadha yarhi vikarma sevitum Nirhitya putram pitaram jijivishati. Okay, please chant. Oho, alas, vichitram, wonderful, bhagavat vicheshtitam, the pastimes of the Lord, jnanantam, death, janaha, a person, ayam, this, he, certainly, vishan, although seen, na pashyati, does not see, dhyayan, thinking about, asat, material happiness, yarhi, because, vikarma, forbidden activities, sevitum, to enjoy, nirhitya, burning, putram, sons, pitaram, the father, jivishati, desires a long life. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Alas, how wonderful it is that the foolish materialist does not heed the great danger of impending death. He knows that death will surely come, yet he is nevertheless callous and neglectful. If his father dies, he wants to enjoy his father's property, and if his son dies, he wants to enjoy his son's possessions as well. In either case, he heedlessly tries to enjoy material happiness with the acquired money. Purport. Material happiness means to have good facilities for eating, sleeping, sexual intercourse, and defense. Within this world, the materialistic person lives only for these four principles of sense gratification, not caring for the impending danger of death. After his father's death, a son tries to inherit his money and use it for sense gratification. Similarly, one whose son dies tries to enjoy the possessions of his son. Sometimes the father of a dead son even enjoys his son's widow. Materialistic persons behave in this way. Thus, Shukadeva Goswami says, how wonderful are these pastimes of material happiness transacted by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, Materialistic persons want to commit all kinds of sinful activities, but without the sanction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, no one can do anything. Why does the Supreme Personality of Godhead permit sinful activities? The Supreme Lord does not want any living being to act sinfully, and he begs him through his good conscience to refrain from sin. But when someone insists upon acting sinfully, the Supreme Lord gives him the sanction to act at his own risk. Mattaḥ, smṛtir, jñānam, apohanaṁ. No one can do anything without the sanction of the Lord, but he is so kind that when the conditioned soul persists in doing something, the Lord permits the individual soul to act at his own risk. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, sons always outlive their fathers in other planetary systems and other lands in this universe, especially on Swargalok. However, on this planet Earth, a son often dies before his father, and the materialistic father is pleased to enjoy the possessions of his son. Neither the father nor the son can see the reality that both of them are awaiting death. When death comes, however, all their plans for material enjoyment are finished. Om Ganatividendasya Gananjana Shalakya Chakshulan Vaditamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karitavachalam Pangam Langate Gidem Yakripatamaham Bande Shri Gurundinitaranam Pancha Kapudur Bishta Kripasindevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhupada Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Translation again. Alas, how wonderful it is that the foolish materialist does not heed the great danger of impending death. He knows that death will surely come, yet he is nevertheless callous and neglectful. If his father dies, he wants to enjoy his father's property, and if his son dies, he wants to enjoy his son's possessions as well. In either case, he heedlessly tries to enjoy material happiness with acquired money. So I met this devotee. Was trying to remember his name. Oh yeah, I think it's Daiva. Yeah, his name's Daiva, which means divine. Like you have Daiva, Shakti, the divine energy. So Daiva, his name's Daiva. So he's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and he is younger disciple of Prabhupada. Means he got initiated while he was younger, and he was one of the, I think he got initiated in 1977 or something. So he's younger, and he kind of jumped around a little bit in America, but he's based in Hawaii, in Honolulu specifically. And very nice person, and anyways, but he wanted to speak with me, so we spoke for quite a long time. At least, I don't know, maybe 2 hours or 2.5 hours, or something like that. And he was telling me his history and this and that, and how he thinks ISKCON can improve. And when he came and saw me came to meet me, he said, "Oh, I wore this shirt because I was coming to see you." And his shirt said "visionary" on it. And he said, "I'm a visionary." And he said, devotees need to be visionaries. He said Prabhupada was a visionary, had a clear vision. And one of the things he was stressing, which was a good point, he was saying that there's 7 purposes of ISKCON. You want to look those up on your phone, Tyler? You have your phone? Oh, you don't got your phone? What type of brahmacharya are you? You should have it sewed to your arm so you could easily. You have your phone? Wow, well, okay, you do. Can you tell us? Here, can you look it up, the 7 purposes of ISKCON? Because I just like to read them.
They're listed in the Prashadam Hall at LA. I did just read them. There's a nice
Oh, they're everywhere. You could just look up, search 7 purposes of ISKCON. They're everywhere. It's not difficult to find. It's more difficult to find the 10 offenses to pizza. Although that's listed in Charu Prabhu's website, the Utah website. It's by like Vana Pasta, Lasagna or something, Das, I don't know. 10 offenses pizza. I'm not sure who came up with it. Maybe, but maybe it was Sridhar Swami because he was also... Well, they're good points in this 10 offenses, actually. Really practical, good points. Anyways. So, the 7 purposes of ISKCON. Okay. ISKCON, spiritual master, founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It says, according to Srila Prabhupada's will, ISKCON continued thereafter. Okay. In ISKCON's incorporating document, Srila Prabhupada imparts the 7 purposes of ISKCON. 1. To systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large, and to educate all peoples in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and to achieve real unity and peace in the world. So education, right, to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge. And that could be done through many platforms, like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur in his times, he did it through many platforms. So the more the better. In other words, to try to rack our brains how to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge. 1 being what Srila Prabhupada introduced, book distribution. But there's other means also. It's not the only means. There's other means, and we should use all of them. We have Dimitri, I think, his individual score. Nowadays, we're just mixing all the scores together. I guess it kind of works out for the people who don't distribute much. It's like, all right, so today, Bhakti George and Krishna Das and Vijay Das and Govardhan distributed 900 Lakshmi points, Jai, and then maybe George distributed like, $20 worth or something. I went, fine, good, but you kind of, you don't get the full picture sometimes. Well, who distributed most of that or half of that? So Dimitri, we just heard his score today. Like for example, if Amoghaleela Prabhu went out yesterday and he maybe had a tough day or something, distributed $50 worth, and then Dimitri distributed $450 worth. We think, all right, maybe they kind of half and half type of thing. But anyways, we heard his score today. It was around $500, which is very good. I mean, he shouldn't become puffed about it, obviously, but it's very good. I don't think I've ever distributed that much in a day in my life, but so that's one way to distribute books. 2, to propagate a consciousness of Krishna as it is revealed in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. To propagate a consciousness of Krishna, so becoming Krishna conscious based on the principles of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, not in a speculative way. Shruti smṛtir purāṇādi pañcaratra ki vidim vina. That devotional service should be performed according to the Shrutis, Smritis, the Puranas, the Vedic literature, and if it's not, it's a disturbance in society. Like some Krishna lounger came recently and they were saying, "Oh, I'm going to go do a kirtan, and can you tell me what these words mean?" And it was like a kirtan. It was like, I don't know, Jai Govinda, Jai Gopal, something, something, Nityananda. Just a concocted mantra. So, according to revealed scriptures, the Acharyas, we practice devotional service. 3, to bring the members of the society together with each other and nearer to Krishna, the prime entity, and thus to develop the idea within the members and humanity at large that each soul is part and parcel of the quality of Godhead, Krishna. So to bring people together and nearer to Krishna and to help them realize that they're a Krishna servant. 4, to teach and encourage the Sankirtan movement of congregational chanting of the holy name of God as revealed in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So when people come, they need to be taught actually everything, how to do there's a lot of training. It's a detailed, oriented culture actually. So one of the things they need to be taught is how to chant Hare Krishna on beads, japa beads, but also kirtan, like we were having earlier. And people, when they visit, they should see that we're having kirtan. It shouldn't be a temple that is, kirtan has become extinct because we're too busy, right? Doing more important things. But actually the most important thing is kirtan. All the other things are secondary, actually. Five, to erect for the members and for society at large a holy place of transcendental pastimes dedicated to the personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada erected many holy places, temples, and all over the world. I mean, you see the Mormons, which, of course, we disagree with them philosophically and on a number of points, but we disagree with many people philosophically on a number of points, so it's not that, just the Mormons, but we have to get into the details about that right now, but, anyways, yeah, we don't have to. But you see that it's not that they just, of course, you could say it's an American-based religion, you could say, in many ways. Like their holy places, right? I don't know, Salt Lake City, right? Utah, kind of like their Dham, right? And whereas we have Mayapur and Vrindavan, it's more, quote-unquote Indian-based. Of course, Vrindavan and Mayapur, we shouldn't see as located in India, like some spiritual realm, but it is interesting how the Mormons built up Salt Lake City and how many of them are there. I mean, like we talk about having a community, we talk about having a international society for Krishna consciousness, right? And it is. But the Mormons, they really, at least in terms of numbers. And I would say you would think that most of them are following the basic tenets of their scripture. Of course, who knows? People always try to wiggle out of things, but a number of them we would suspect are following the basic things, and at least saying that I'm a Mormon, right, or I'm a Latter-day Saint. That's the technical term, right? Not a Mormon, Latter-day Saint. So Srila Prabhupada wanted devotees to set up communities throughout the world, not just Mayapur, not just Vrindavan, but throughout the world. So it's a tendency for devotees to want to skip out to India because in many ways it's kind of easy. Everything's set up. Hey, let's go to Mayapur. There's already like 2,000 devotees here, or more than 2,000. There's 20,000 devotees. Are great. Everywhere I look, everybody's wearing tilak and chanting Hare Krishna. Wonderful. And whatever. Some people do that under the permission with their spiritual master, and fine. No problem. But it's a little more difficult to try to especially where a place, you're trying to maybe start something up and expand. which, by the way, we've been here for 40, 50 years. It's time to expand. Means we need more centers in San Diego, satellite centers, what to speak of, more property for community living and so on. It's been 50 years practically, time to expand. So, but yeah, it's much easier just to go where something's already set up, not to like pioneer things, right? Because in many ways, the Krishna conscious movement in many places, or practically throughout the whole world, it's still in the pioneering days. But ultimately, I mean, to have such communities in America where there's 1,000 devotees, where's that community? I mean, they have New Vrindavan or they have Gita Nagari, and in many ways, there's not many devotees there. I can't think of any real community that has a lot of devotees. I mean, Houston, they have property around. They have apartment buildings. They have a school. They're building a school. They have a brahmacharya ashram. They have a farm, and they actually have a really good setup. Dallas, also a number of houses around the temple. Other place, Alachua, I guess that's maybe the closest. I guess there's a lot of devotees there. Atlanta? Yeah, not so much. But, I mean, in terms of having 1,000 devotees, I mean, they have 50, maybe. And all of them are in their probably most of them are close to 70, if not past 70. Yeah. Late 60s. So, anyways, there's room for improvement in terms of having large communities. And that could mean large communities, farm communities, that should obviously be there. Should have probably wanted that. But even large communities in the city. I think I'm locked out now. Even large communities in the city, I still have a few more to read. Even large communities in the city in which there's apartments and properties, and why not? Salt Lake City, it's not like exactly some royal, I'm tired. How do you say that word? Yeah, you understand what I'm trying to say. It's not. It's not exactly like that. As far as I understand, but they're spread out. Like imagine if somehow or other 1,000 devotees descended to San Diego, and somehow or they bought this whole block here. Imagine the influence that would have. This whole, I would say whole Grand, but a large part of Grand, I mean, that would be really impressive. I mean, that would be in the news. So there's room for that. Or at least expanding a little bit, having a center in what do you call it, Bay Park or whatever it is, South County, Chula Vista, Imperial Beach, at least that or something. So there's so much room for improvement. So Prabhupada wanted that. 6, to bring the members closer together for the purpose of teaching a simpler and more natural way of life. Simple living, high thinking. 7, with a view towards achieving the aforementioned purpose, to publish and distribute periodicals, magazines, books, and other writings. So, of course, devotees have given classes on the 7 purposes of ISKCON, and for some reason, as far as I understand, there hasn't been a book. A book has been written. It means expanding on the 7 purposes of ISKCON, or how Srila Prabhupada demonstrated the 7 purposes of ISKCON, because he practically demonstrated these also. It hasn't been written, so if somebody wants to write a book, that's an idea. So anyways, this devotee, Hare Krishna, this devotee, Daiva, he was telling me that Srila Prabhupada already gave us the tools and the knowledge that we need to expand Krishna consciousness, and then he says we just have to follow it. He said the problem is people aren't following, and then they're wondering, oh, why are we having financial problems? Why are we having this problem? Why are we having that problem? And then he was just saying, because people aren't following. He said it's very simple, just follow. Prabhupada set up the 7 purposes of ISKCON, study them, and then follow them, and it will work. So he was stressing this, 7 purposes of ISKCON, 7 purposes of ISKCON, 7 purposes of ISKCON. And he said, just do them, just follow them. So, but we see that the materialists, as being mentioned in this purport, they don't have any vision. Their vision is just eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. That's their vision. That's as far as it goes. Their vision doesn't go any farther. And you could say, therefore, they have crippled intelligence. Therefore, they're known as kripanas, misers. Miserly intelligence means that they have the human body, but they're just using it for the wrong purposes. They're using it for sinful activity. Miser also means someone has money and they're using it wrongly, as Srila Prabhupada's mentioning here also. That, and it's also being mentioned in the verse and purport. A materialistic person only lives for these 4 principles of sense gratification, not caring for impending danger of death. After his father's death, a son tries to inherit his money and use it for sense gratification. So whether it's inheriting money for the father, or whether it's getting money this way, by hook, by crook, cheating, right? Somehow or other, get that money and try to engage it in sense gratification. No God consciousness, no spiritual advancement, no spiritual progress, not doing anything for humanity. It's all about themselves. And such people are misers. Such people, it's very sad, actually. And there's many people like that. Or you get these big guys, they make billions of dollars, and then they give so much of it to abortion. Planned Parenthood, or what do you call abortion clinics or whatever. Misuse of money. Or they use it to buy 1 billion turkeys, right, to distribute to the poor. Misuse of money. And it's sad because there's so many of these people and they have lots of it, but they don't know how to use it. Although some people know how to use it. You have this devotee you have the devotees in Tucson. quite a interesting group over there, and in many ways dynamic actually in terms of their thinking and kind of operation, but just somehow or other, right next to the temple, like literally right next to the temple, there's a huge property there. Not absolutely humongous, but a good-sized property right there next door. And then there was some man there, and he owned the property, and he had a bunch of like buildings on it, small businesses. And then somehow or other, just donate to the devotees. Just donate to the devotees. And then there's another man who's, I think he's like some single kind of Indian man, and he's got he's got some money, so he said, yeah, I'll just build a huge temple there, a restaurant and temple. And so and then they have down the street, they bought some house where they want to house older devotees who have health problems and need some care. So it's nice. So you have some people who know how to, somehow or other, they have the piety, they have the good sense that, okay, let me donate my property. Okay, let me give some money to build a temple, right? So some people are like that. But unfortunately, you have a number of people who are just not like that. And then Prabhupada says, sometimes the father of a dead son even enjoys his son's widow. So this is just saying this. Son dies, leaves the wife, and the father goes after the wife. I mean, anyways, there's probably a billion weird stories out there And there's probably a billion weird stories being created as we speak. Jerry Springer Kali Yuga stuff. Sorry for saying that name. I don't mean to contaminate everybody, but weird, strange, just bizarre, just demented weirdness going on. It's going on since the beginning of time, and so much of it is going on now. And again, right as we speak, there's so many weird things going on like this. So, and it's just because people are, again, they don't have any vision. It's just like all they see is, all they see is just eating, sleeping, mating, defending. And that's it. And however they could get that, however they can maneuver, just no shame, just whatever. It doesn't matter. Just somehow or other need to fulfill these urges, and that's it. Even if it's the father, his son dies and leaves the widow there, okay, let me enjoy. It's just very weird. So they commit all types of sinful activities, and then the question is, okay, well, Krishna, why does he let him do that? Why does he let them do that? And then Prabhupada says here in the purport that he tries to the good conscience, it tries to, no, don't do that. That's wrong. Don't go after your son's widow. That's wrong, you lust bag. Don't do that, right? But the guy, no, I must do that. I'm an animal. I must do that. No, don't do that. No, I must do that. And then, then Krishna sanctions it. And that's just one case. There's so many cases. So, good conscience. We try to the conscience that tries to refrain us from sin, but then people act anyways. And then at your own risk. So it's like the ocean of material existence. I want to jump in. I want to jump in. I want to jump in the ocean of material existence. No, don't do it. Don't do it. No, I want to jump in. All right, jump. And then, but swim at your own risk, right? So much of our life is like that. People say, "Oh, I want to get married to this girl," or in the case of a girl, "I want to get married to this boy." And somebody said, "No, bad idea. Don't do it." "No, but I want it." "Okay, fine, do it." Swim at your own risk. It means you might drown, but if you insist. Of course, there's things that we do get there are ideas that we have, we hope, right, that are good. And we do run them by devotees, and devotees do think they're good. And yeah, sure. No problem. It's not like you're jumping in the deep end, you don't know how to swim. Yeah, sure, go for it. Of course, in life, we have to take risks. We have to take risks, like we have to try to challenge ourselves in Krishna consciousness. But we want to take intelligent risks. We want to do things intelligently. I'm trying to think of the statement of the Nectar of Instruction. Oh yeah, enthusiasm. Enthusiasm means to endeavor with intelligence. So we're endeavoring with intelligence. It's not like a foolish enthusiasm. Like, oh, I'm so enthusiastic. But then what's the result? The result may be havoc. So that wasn't a very intelligent way to be enthusiastic. For example, I mentioned this some time ago, but someone say, yeah, I want to go preach at a rave. Right? But then they have some heavy inclinations to raving or drugs or whatever other people do at raves, and then they just get in trouble, right? So they're endeavoring, but not with intelligence. They're enthusiastic, right? Maybe, but not with intelligence. And you see it happens all the time, all over with sometimes with devotees, is they're endeavoring, but not with intelligence, then they get in trouble. So, and then Srila Prabhupada says at the end that, however, when death comes, their plans for material enjoyment are finished. So the idea is that all the plans that people have or that we may have for material enjoyment, they're all considered not important. And the real thing is we should try to plan for spreading Krishna consciousness. That's what we should plan for. Or we should try to plan, how am I going to become Krishna conscious, and how am I going to spread Krishna consciousness. That should be our plan. So, or else all of these plans, I'll do this, I'll go here, I'll go there, it's just so mundane. And it's lacking vision. And if we don't have vision, I mean, we may have more vision, we have more vision, right, than eating and sleeping, mating and defending. But maybe we don't have long-term visions, or maybe, in other words, maybe we need some help. Therefore, there's a principle, okay, there's leaders, right? Leaders are supposed to have a vision, and then we follow, right? But we have to be willing to follow also. So we should have visions, and we should also follow the lead of leaders in terms of their vision as well. Or else, yeah, it's just very mundane. I mean, people say, "Oh, I'm living a very romantic life." Very romantic life, sure, if that's what you want to call it. I don't think he's listening because he's probably busy doing something else. But there was one young man that was kind of on his way to come join the ashram, and if he is listening, fine, good. He could hear it. But there was some young man coming to join the ashram here. Check it out for a month or whatever. So then I'll do it in a month. And then actually when I was going to join the ashram, Tirthamaj actually, he shared an email with me, which was from more than 15 years ago now. And then he was in Vrindavan, and he was emailing Tota Gopinath. And this email said, short email, said, "Oh, Hare Krishna, Tota Gopinath, and accept my obeisances, all glories to Prabhupada." And he said, "How's Bhakti John's initiation ceremony going? Is he going to get initiated soon?" Giriraj Gopal became initiated as Giriraj Gopal. And then he said, "How's Bhakti Brownson doing?" And then he said, "Has he joined yet?" And he said, "You should get him to join before Maya fills up his schedule." So, anyways, but going back is that this person was going to come down and stay for a month, and then some time passed, and I wasn't pressing it, because people have their free will, and you could only press so much. And if he said he's going to come down, he's going to come down. What am I going to do? I'll always be calling him, and maybe I should have. But then some time passed, and then I had his contact, like on WhatsApp or whatever. Social media, of course it's not social media in the sense of Instagram or Facebook, where you could find so much about people, what they're doing. And actually, just on WhatsApp, you could actually find out a lot about people. They post their little picture. So anyways, I saw a picture of him posted, and then, well, first I think he said something like, yeah, I'm not going to come down. I appreciate the offer. And, you know, Krishna had other arrangements. I don't know about Krishna having other arrangements. I think maybe.
Facilitates.
Yeah, he facilitates. He was saying no, no, no. And the other person was saying yes, 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 right? So he said Krishna Maya has other arrangements. But he said Krishna had other arrangements. And then I see his WhatsApp photo, and you know, he's there with, guess who? Some girl. Enjoying life. Romantic, if that's what you want to call it. It's just some selfish desires masquerading as love, etc. So, yeah. In terms of... So yeah, if we're not planning and if we're not acting on the principles of Krishna consciousness, then we get just caught up in so much, it's just mundane, just really mundane. And people think it's divine, romantic, whatever you know, amazing words you want to attach to it, but it's just mundane. So better that we plan how to do things in Krishna consciousness, we have a vision, and we act on it, and not get sidetracked. Oh yeah, I had a vision, but then somebody came into my life, or this came, or I got a big inheritance. That's what sometimes happens. I got a big inheritance. I had a vision to take sannyas and travel, and all of a sudden I got inheritance, and yeah, about that, you know, and I'm out of here. So you have to have a vision and then follow it, no matter what. So, in terms of learning, like what's going on with people on WhatsApp, versus, you know, as you know, there's some brahmachari we met in India, and maybe, yeah, because I guess, but I saw on his WhatsApp, he was a brahmachari for a number of years, and whatever, I mean, people, they move on, and to household ashram and this and that, and fine, you know, it's not a problem. But I was just a little surprised, because he's a brahmachari for a number of years, and it didn't, I mean, we only met him briefly, but then I see on his WhatsApp kind of photo, I'm like, whoa, that's kind of, because it's like a picture with him, a baseball cap, and there's some, I hope it's his wife, because, you know, they seem a little close, you know, embracing each other and stuff. Anyways, of course, it is possible to be, means a man and a woman to be together and to be Krishna conscious and to be pure devotees. That's good. But at least in this person's case, I think it was, you know, he was coming here and then derailed. So we have to be careful. Okay, any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna.
Yes, you could ask.
Yes, just give me a... Yes, Balaram Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams. My question is, can sin be prevented without a spiritual master?
Yeah. It could be prevented without there's many people who are pious, actually, and they naturally follow moral life. But the problem is, living a moral life or a good life is just, it's also mundane. It's not transcendental. I mean, if you think about it, like, if we think about, okay, what type of life can we live? We could live just a very sinful life, just animalistic, sinful, no regard for any spiritual instructions, and just run free, right? But that's boring, that so many people are doing that. And if everybody was so happy doing that, we'd see a lot more. If everybody was enjoying that so much, there'd be a lot more happy people. But there's not. So it doesn't seem like a very sensible thing to do. And then we could live a life, you could say like a moral life of, okay, we're good people, but it's also boring. just living a good life, and I'm a good person, and religious, and this and that. But to live a life of where we're striving to become pure devotees, where we're not just trying to live, we're not just living a sinful life or a good life, but we're trying to be transcendental. We're trying to spread Krishna consciousness. We're engaged in a mission. Because a lot of the times when people are engaged in this good, and like when they're living a good life or religious life, or when they're living a sinful life, there's no real mission. It's just like, hey, it's me and my gratification, right? And maybe my friends and family. That's a sinful life. Same with a moral life. It's me and my family and our gratification. And maybe we give some donations to the temple or something. But there's no like mission, like we're on a mission here and we're going to save the world, or there's nothing like that. And therefore it's just so limiting and restricted. It's a restricted life. But the life of a preacher, the life of a devotee, it's more dynamic, and there's a mission. So that's kind of a side point. But sometimes, in terms of being able to avoid sin, they say that a materialist, although they may be living a somewhat good life, there's always a chance of degradation. Therefore, it says the materialist doesn't have any good qualities, because the qualities you could say that they do have you could say they could be like shadow qualities. They're not real, but they're like the shadow. Why? Because they're the good qualities that they may be seeming to manifest, they're always subject to change. Like, for example, you put like you say, like for example, you dress a dog up and you put him on a vyasa, and then put a garland on him, and then if you throw a bone, he's going to chase after the bone, because that is his nature. So similarly, you have all these non-devotees, and they may rise into high positions, social positions, this and that, but just give it a little time, give them some tests, and they'll fail them. Because they don't really have, the good qualities aren't really there, ultimately. So Srila Prabhupada one time said that he was at somebody's house in India, and then there was this man there, and he was a pious Indian man with his family. And Srila Prabhupada said, "You see that man?" He was speaking confidentially to the devotee. He said, "You see that man? That man could be following the principles of varnashram for his whole life and for many lives, but still go to hell." Because to live a pure life, to live a moral life, to live a good life in this world, in Kali Yuga, there's many chances of us becoming degraded. Like Ajamil. Ajamil was a good Brahmin boy, but he wasn't a pure devotee. He was a good Brahmin boy, and he became degraded, right? So there's an example. He was following his varnashram duties very nicely, but because he wasn't a pure devotee, or because he wasn't experiencing the higher happiness of Krishna consciousness, ultimately he couldn't follow. So that's the thing. So you could say ultimately, yeah, we have to have a spiritual master and follow him to be able to ultimately overcome sin. Yeah.
Yes, if I may, Balaram Prabhu, as usual, brilliant, very helpful answer to my question. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
All right, thank you. All right. Okay, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.